Greetings, listeners. Welcome to Consulting Between Friends, and I'm your host, Michael Holmes Jr. Today, we're going to talk about the current voter suppression laws that are causing an uproar in America, starting with the history of voter suppression laws and explaining how these laws hurt African Americans living in Georgia. Also, giving knowledge on the subject of voting. So let's get started after a short break. The information I am discussing is on voter suppression laws. This subject is constantly changing, so by the time this episode comes out, information will be different. And I just wanted to let everyone know before they start listening to the episode. After a short break, we will return. We are back. First, we're going to take a journey to the beginning of voter suppression laws and explain how the laws were used. Voter suppression laws is not a new problem. It has been a part of the United States from the beginning of the 20th century. The set of laws that we all know is the Jim Crow laws. These laws were put in place to stop African Americans from having the right to vote. Some examples of the Jim Crow laws are literacy tests and the jelly bean count. The literacy test consists of a few questions to test your knowledge at an education level. The jelly bean count was a guessing game that was used to not let African Americans have the right to vote. If you failed the literacy test or the jelly bean count, you were not given the right to register to vote. These laws that were put in place during the Jim Crow era turned hundreds of African Americans away from having the right to vote. Also, during this time was the Civil Rights Movement. A part of the movement took place in Selma, Alabama. In Selma, Alabama, 600 peaceful demonstrators protest the killing of Jimmy Lee Jackson, a black civil rights activist. For the march across the Adam Pettus Bridge to Montgomery, Alabama, to register the right to vote. The march across the bridge was stopped and no one was allowed to continue marching. The devastating example that took place during the march is known as Bloody Sunday. A great example, for my opinion, is the movie called Selma, and it was released in 2014. The movie Selma will explain more about what I discussed above. Here are people we heard and learned in school during the Civil Rights Movement. Their names are Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, Medgar Evers, and many more that we have not discussed or are important to the Civil Rights Movement. We just took a journey in history about vote suppression laws. Now, let's fast forward to the present and discuss current problems of vote suppression laws. After a short break, we will return. We are back. In 2021, we are seeing more voter suppression laws put in place and changed because of the 2020 election of the Democratic President Joe Biden. Since the election, there has been a total of 34 states, which are Republican run states, that want voting laws changed. This will cause more people to lose the ability to vote. It's already difficult to vote if you weren't used to voting. For people who don't understand the current system of voting, the new way will definitely deter them. This voting change will affect more of the minority population. The Republican leaders were warned of the more bitter towards the outcome of the 2020 election. Here are a few reasons why the Republicans were feeling bitter. 1. Vote by mail was a success. Since people were feeling uncomfortable voting in person because of the COVID-19 pandemic. 2. Organizations came together to educate people on the different ways to vote and to prepare people to vote. One of the 34 states changing voting laws is Georgia. Brian Kemp is the current governor. The state of Georgia in 2020 election flipped to the Democratic Party in the presidential election. The state of Georgia has not been Democratic since Bill Clinton won in 1992. The main reason for the change of the Democratic Party is because of the change of Atlanta's residents. More and more minority families started to move and invest in the area. The cause and change in values and the demographic. The change happened for the first black mayor of Atlanta, and his name is Maynard Jackson. Maynard Jackson served 3 terms as mayor of Atlanta, Georgia between 1974 and 1982 and 1990 to 1994. Maynard's term in office was the beginning of black wealth and success. He gave African Americans in Atlanta the resources it takes to start a business. He always encouraged companies to invest in Atlanta, Georgia, to bring wealth to the city. One big project was the airport, which is now Hartford Jackson Atlanta International Airport. The second project was having the Olympics come to Atlanta for everyone to see what it offers. Maynard Jackson was the main reason why Atlanta has become popular for African Americans today. Atlanta has become the location for black entrepreneurs. Atlanta is a metropolitan city with lots of opportunities for black business owners who are supported by a majority of the people in the community. Atlanta has 100+ black businesses with variety in every category that can offer what you need. For example, restaurants, technology, audio companies, financial services. Atlanta restaurants has different types of food for different cultures. Next, we will discuss the current problems in Georgia. After a short break, we will return. Everyone is always planning things, and advertising is needed to make it happen. So, if it's personal or business, let Pinpoint Designs and Images solve that problem. With Pinpoint Designs and Images LLC, you will receive quality work and professional service at a great price. The service that is offered: flyers, business cards, programs, invitations, photo books, ad booklets, and much more. Michael Holmes Jr., owner/principal designer of Pinpoint Designs and Images LLC, contact me by email or social media. Email address is pinpointdesignsandImages@gmail.com, and Instagram Pinpoint Designs, and Facebook Pinpoint Designs and Images. We are back. Well, if you don't know, Brian Kemp, the governor of Georgia, has created a major uproar on voting rights laws. Brian Kemp has made some changes to the voting laws before the next election in Georgia. The time for early voting changed to a time the working class cannot cast their vote. The new time for early voting is from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., with early voting having 4 weeks to cast their vote. Lots of businesses are being put in the hot seat because of the support of the bill. Organizations like Black Voters Matter, the Fair Fight, the New Georgia Project, the Color for Change, and the League of Women Voters are a few groups who are working hard to inform different people on the new voting laws. The new voting laws go in effect on July 1st, 2021. Some companies are in the hot seat are Home Depot, Delta Airlines, Coca-Cola. These companies have not spoken up about the current major issues that can affect their business overall. These companies did not recognize how the issue will hurt their business overall. The vote suppression laws has also affected the sports world. The sport of baseball was majorly affected by the new voting laws. It was the Major League Baseball All-Star Game, which was going to affect the people who supported them by ticket sales. The Major League Baseball decided to move the Major League game out of Georgia because of the new voting laws. The Major League Baseball game was moved to Denver, Colorado because of the new voting laws in Georgia. The Georgia Governor Brian Kemp did not approve the decision by the Major League Baseball. He felt they were moving because of politics instead of a business decision. Georgia has lost the opportunity to have funds that would have boosted the economy since the COVID pandemic. Because of the new voting laws, they missed the opportunity to create funds for the state of Georgia. Some of the Georgia new voting laws are a step in the wrong direction. We are now going to discuss a few new laws. 1. In the new bill, the absentee ballot request time has changed to a more lesser time for voters. 2. ID is now required for absentee ballot. The voter will have to provide the driver's license or state ID to request and return a absentee ballot. If the person do not write their full social security number, the ballot might be tossed out. The reason why this will be a problem is not everyone has a driver's license or state ID number. This will definitely hurt African Americans and minority voters. 3. Drop boxes was created to have easy access to return your ballot. The counties that are affected by the drop boxes are Fulton, Cobb, DeKalb, and Gwinnett. They are supposed to have 100,000 drop boxes per registered voter in each county. Also, these boxes have to be inside a business instead of outside. This means less time to drop off the ballot because it will not be 24 hours anymore. These counties that are affected are mostly African Americans and minorities. 4. Food and water given to people while waiting in line is now a misdemeanor offense. In my opinion, this new law is totally ridiculous. I have proof to explain this problem. 1. I was a poll worker in the past. 2. I also worked on a few campaigns for a political party and a nonprofit organization. As a poll worker on a busy election, you do not have a lot of time to offer anything extra to a voter on election day. For example, precincts might not have the space to store cases of water for all the people waiting in line to vote. For my experience working for a political party and a nonprofit organization, I know for a fact that no candidate will jeopardize their chance for running for office. Also, a nonprofit organization will not jeopardize their credibility to assist the people in the community. This means all candidates and nonprofit organizations know the rules and regulations for all voting precincts, as well consequences if the candidates and nonprofit organizations do not follow the rules. 5. If you have a major health issue like diabetes, you might get thirsty and hungry, and that can cause your blood sugar to affect your body overall. If this happens, you will have to get out of line and go home. This is what they are expecting people to do and not cast their vote. I just discussed a few of the new voting laws in Georgia that can affect a lot of people in the future. Now, let's wrap up and discuss what we have learned. We all have learned that voter suppression is a major problem in America. How it has been a part of history since the beginning of the 20th century. Also, how Atlanta is the driving force to the state of Georgia, and how the African Americans can benefit for having a business in the city of Atlanta. As well, how there's a new voter suppression laws that will hurt the African Americans and minorities the most. I hope everyone takes what I have discussed into a fact that everyone should have the right to vote and how it's important to each individual and businesses in America. One last thing, remember to support Black business owners and voting rights. Thank you for listening to Consulting Between Friends. Consulting Between Friends is available on Google Podcasts and Spotify, as well other platforms that are available. So like and subscribe. Need to contact us and leave us a comment? You can find us on Instagram at Consulting the letter B Friends. Once again, Consulting B Friends on Instagram. And email address is consultingbfriends@gmail.com. Once again, consultingbfriends@gmail.com. Consulting between friends. Thanks to everyone for making this possible. The hosts, Michael Holmes Jr. and Shay Jones. The producer and content creator, Michael Holmes Jr. Artwork cover, Michael Holmes Jr. Original music, a DJ name / references from the history of voter suppression, history.com and biography.com, Atlanta History, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, current news on voter suppression, the New York Times, and the CBSNews.com. Content distributor, Power 77 Radio.